Good morning. Good morning.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Morning Deuce. It has been a couple of days. I was out of town. I did a little podcast work. I did a little fun time, but I'm excited. I got a great interview in that will hopefully come by the end of the week, and it's one of my favorites that I've done so far. So you'll look forward to listening to that. I can tell it's going to be a good one. But I did get to go see my beloved Red Sox. I got to see 3 games as they played the Angels. It was awesome. Every game was fantastic. The first night, I got to see my favorite player in the league, who went to the same college as me at the same time I was there, hit a home run. And it was the first ever hit I'd seen him get live and in person. So that was amazing. I got to see a catcher who graduated from my high school that my dad coached Little League for. Coached him in Little League, and he's one of my brother's very good friends. I got to see him play 2 games. And then the final game on Sunday, the Red Sox did not score at all, and they were down 3-0 in the last inning with 2 outs and 2 strikes. They had a miraculous comeback, which included a 3-run home run, a go-ahead home run. So they had like a 93% chance of losing the game or some statistic I saw, and they pulled it out with 2 outs in the 9th inning. Probably the best comeback win or second best comeback win of the season. It was awesome. The 3 games were great. They won 2 of the 3. I had a blast. And the game that they lost, which kind of was a bummer, the Angel Stadium is beautiful, very easy to park, very cheap, and they had something where they played the Incredibles movie on the Jumbotron, and they let you on the field after the game. So I got to sit in left field, like in Angel Stadium, in the grass, and just hang out there and watch a couple minutes of the Incredibles with some of my friends, which was very cool. And I even stood up at one point during the middle of the game. Everyone was flashing lights on their back of their cell phones, which I didn't really understand what they were doing that for. And my section was like kind of confused. No one knew it was up, and I had been drinking a little. And I was like, I know what this is. I've seen the movie. And I stood up and I waved my arms. I'm doing it right now, alone in my garage, like Joseph Gordon-Levitt in the classic Disney film Angels in the Outfield, one of my favorite movies of all time. Maybe seen it 45,000 times. And I got to live out my dream by flapping like Kid Sees an Angel, which, if you haven't seen that scene, Kid Sees an Angel, it still gets the heart moving. Danny Glover, Tony Danza, Adrian Brody's in the film, Matthew McConaughey's in the movie. It's a star-studded cast. Christopher Lloyd, hero, absolute hero in my book. So this was a really cool weekend. Got to see a lot of the Red Sox play. That was great. We're going to power quickly right now because I have 2 movie reviews. Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates, movie review. Hilarious. Aubrey Plaza, a.k.a. April Ludgate Karate Dwyer. Really hot, pretty funny. Zac Efron, really hot, pretty funny. Adam from Workaholics, not that attractive, but absolutely hilarious. And the girl from Pitch whatever it's called, Pitch Perfect. Oh, great classic film. She's hilarious and very funny and oddly, weirdly cute, so I'm in on that. It was great. Funny movie. Really good. Also saw the most recent Jason Bourne movie. Trash. Straight trash. First off, they never screened that movie because the cinematography was so bad. It had that like handheld shaky cam feel to it that Jason Bourne movies have had forever. I mean, I can remember going to them when I was like 12 and they had shaky camera. And that's okay in like the sort of high energy, intense drama scenes. This had the most aggressive shaky camera I've ever seen, even in the most mundane scenes. And they shot everything from below and up. So you were like, but it wasn't the same angle. It was like constantly below the subject, constantly like swaying from left to right, focusing in and out all the time. I thought I'd eaten a bad slice of pizza and I was having like stomach problems because of it. Then I realized I think I'm getting motion sickness, and I turned to the my buddy on the left, and I was like, am I like crazy? I feel like I'm getting motion sickness. And he said to me, I've been feeling sick for a while. It was that bad. I had to close my eyes for like 2 and 3 minute sections of the movie. And then 2/3 of the way through, it was so bad, I stood up and walked out of the theater just to like let my eyes readjust to like life and perspective and just like steadiness. And then I watched the last third of the movie, or the last quarter of the movie, because I hate walking out on movies. I watched it in the back row so that I would get less nauseous. And I'm still feeling nauseous, but it was better in the back row of the theater. So if you have to see it, watch in the back row. Other things, Julia Stiles, horrific acting. Like, absolutely rudimentary high school play, terrible acting. Tommy Lee Jones, awful acting, which I don't normally say because he's like a legend of the game. Horrific acting, and he has these weird sacks of skin underneath his eyes that look just like a scrotum. Like, he looks like he has scrotum sacks underneath his eyes. I don't know how or why that. It was very distracting. It was like he got the filling of whatever's underneath your eye, like the fat sucked out, but the skin was never tucked away or something. It was like if someone got liposuction, but then they just like let the skin hang and nothing, but he did it only under his eye sockets. It's very phallic and uncomfortable, and his acting was very poor. So really the only good part was Matt Damon. He crushed it. He was awesome. He's always awesome. But he also produced the film and put a bunch of money into it, and so I partly blame him for how trash it was. Because if there was a screening and a couple people who weren't involved in the film watched it, they would have been like, hey, I feel sick because you used some terrible cinematography. Who knows? Maybe they said that at the screening and everyone was like, we're not spending $5 million to reshoot this movie or redo everything or re-edit all this stuff, so screw you guys, we're just going to do it anyway. But it was awful. I haven't seen a movie that made me that upset in a while. It was like taking away the bad acting and the horrible camera work was taken away from everything. So don't watch it. Dave D-Spin Win gives it 7/8 of a complete thumb down. And it's really hard to get a complete thumb down. There's like 3 movies on the planet that are a full thumb down. So don't see it. Just don't see it. That's the end of part 1. Part 2 is the bigger part today because I put in my 2 weeks notice at work, and I'm going pro here on the Deuce. I'm gonna be a pro podcaster, I guess, sort of. It was something I'd been thinking about for a while. I know that I like doing these podcasts. I think I can make them into something special. I think I can figure out a way to run them as a small business. I think I can figure out a way to build them. I love interviewing cool people. I love expressing stuff creatively, seeking out knowledge. Even the ones that don't get viewed a lot. I'll get a message from someone I haven't talked to in years who will say like, oh, this one thing you did on this one podcast really stood out to me. It made my day. I think there's an audience for this. There's also another podcast I will be launching in the fall, which I'm excited about. The two will go hand in hand. I'm going to develop the website more. I'm going to write more. I'm going to see if I can get some people to write along with me that are talented. Maybe find some other podcasters that are talented. And who knows where this is going to go. But I really want to give it a shot. I went into my job today and told my I guess president or managing building manager, and then my owner, so the owner's son and the owner, and I told each of them, I like what I've been doing here, but I feel like the growth just isn't there for me anymore. There's no more positions at my job that I'm interested in. And I sort of knew when I covered the major conventions last week that I wasn't leaving with the sense of satisfaction I normally get from the challenge of covering such a big, intense event. I was leaving sort of feeling frustrated and overworked and a little tired. And the spark had kind of gone, and I don't think the growth was really there. I learned a lot over the years that I worked for this particular television network. A lot about myself, a lot about my skills, a lot about news, but I wasn't growing at that same rate anymore. And there's certain things that I want in my life, and they're starting to become clearer and clearer. What's important to me, and some of the things that are important to me are feeling challenged and feeling like I'm constantly pushing my creativity and feeling like I am growing. I don't like being in a stagnant or a cyclical situation. And I think I was starting to realize that maybe there was a way I could break away from that. And I found the right time to do it. And it's now. So, yeah, that was it. And they both my owner and his son, they took it really well. They said, I could come back, which I don't plan on doing. But they were very understanding. And I told them, some of the goals I had in my life about maybe growing a little bit more, putting together at some point, money to get a house and a family and some of those things. And I wasn't sure that they would happen where I currently was. And we kind of talked through it, and they didn't take that offensively. They understood, which was nice. It was nice to sort of feel listened to. But I'm going to go all in on this. Maybe work a couple part-time jobs in the meantime, but put my focus into this podcast and this website, grow it. I have plans for some merchandise. I have plans for some collaborations. I have plans for some videos. I have a lot of great ideas. I've met a lot of fascinating people who've talked about contributing with me or who do great things that I hope to interview. And I want to do interesting stuff and be a storyteller. And I've talked about Steve Jobs' commencement speech before because Derek, way back, he might even been the first ever guest. I think he was on the Morning Deuce podcast. He talked about the Steve Jobs speech where he says, "Don't settle." And I have something similar to that written on my wall of inspiration, which he inspired me to do, about where I want to go and becoming what I can do and not settling. And, when I was little, every day at school, my dad would drop me off and he would say, "What are you going to be?" And for some random reason, one time I said to him, "The best boy I can be." And we did that for 15 years, to the point where occasionally on the phone it will still happen. I mean, we did it every day. He dropped me off at school, and I kind of think that might be way mature beyond the years of when I said it, because I didn't really understand what it meant. But I think there's times where what I was currently doing maybe wasn't letting me be the best version of myself. And I think that this podcast and this growth on my own could maybe help me be the best boy I can be, I guess, in the sort of most uncheesy way that I can possibly say that. So here it is. I'm going pro. So when I start selling t-shirts, buy them so I'm not homeless and I can actually talk to the hot friends that you're telling about this podcast, because it's going to be harder to buy them a beer when I'm super poor. So buy the t-shirts that I will eventually sell and consume all of the stuff that I'm going to fire at you. And I have no shame about telling you that you have to do it, because now my dreams are in your hands. So that's a good old-fashioned Irish Catholic guilt trip that I just give you. So welcome to my childhood, little Irish Catholic guilt trip. But yeah, I'm really excited about the things to come. There's been a couple different points over the last 10 months of my life where I'll start to talk about them over the next couple weeks, where I thought my life was going to sort of drastically change into a different direction. And those situations didn't quite work out because they were reliant on other people or other organizations. And I was right on the edge of a change. and they didn't exactly work out. So I decided to make the change myself, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited about this podcast, about the video ideas I have, about the next podcast that I will be releasing, which will be teased more and more as we get towards the fall. I think there's a lot of really cool things. There might even be a move in my future. There very well might be. I would say it's looking pretty strong, like there will be. So change, and I'll take you along the way with me. You can ride the journey. So remember, you started here with me in the early episodes. We're still in the double-digit episodes. We haven't even made triple digits yet. We're going to get there. So, get the first wave of t-shirts so you can get the collector's items, you know what I mean? Imagine hearing Howard Stern before episode 100. I mean, that's a badge of honor. You guys, that could be you. That could be you listening right now, which makes me Howard Stern, which is a little uncomfortable, but also pretty freaking sweet. That's it. Morning Deuce, David Spindle. Everyone have a great day, and be the best boys and girls you can be. I'm out. Deuce.